And once again, I have Ejaz Haider with me, who needs no introduction, a renowned security and defense expert, a prolific writer, and a man who is a go-to person when it comes to issues related to Pakistan's foreign policy. So today we are going to talk about, guess what, the UN General Assembly session and Pakistani PM's speech, where Mr. Imran Khan laid out Pakistan's official position on a number of issues, uh, especially Afghanistan, and of course Pakistan's principled stand on Kashmir, occupied Kashmir. Also going to ask a few other questions from Ejaz, but without further ado, Ejaz, welcome back. Uh, Tell us, why did Imran Khan not go to UNGA, and does it really make a difference? I mean, his speech was heard and reported upon anyway, but does it make a difference to actually physically go there and meet people on the sideline and make your presence felt, or not?
Well, the foreign minister is there,
Hmm.
and in the last year and a half, Raza, with this COVID pathogen crisis, uh, there are a number of times when world leaders just meet virtually. You and I have been meeting virtually, you know,
For years.
over the last year and a half. And by the looks of it, considering that country X wants A to have Pfizer, country Y wants B to have Moderna. So at some point we also need to, uh, and the WHO needs to do this to uh, systematize this, because people can't have multiple vaccines in order to travel to multiple countries. But anyway, the point really is that it doesn't really matter. There have been a number of virtual meetings, and I think this was one of them. And as I said, the foreign minister has been there. He's been on the sidelines of the UNGA session. He has been meeting with multiple people. He's the point person as far as foreign policy is concerned. And the prime minister needed to make a speech, and he made a speech. We can discuss the contents of his speech, but I also need to say I'm sorry. I've been a little disheveled this evening because when you asked me, I thought I'm going to change, and then I said, heck,
No, it does.
I
I much prefer, and I'm sure viewers also like you dressed in this amazing T-shirt, which deserves a separate conversation, by the way, with all the symbols and mottos. But we'll get to that later. So Imran Khan reminded the world. I mean, yesterday you wrote in the Friday Times how tricky it is for Pakistan to conduct diplomacy on the issue of Afghanistan. You know, for walking a very uh, thin line. I mean, a tightrope walking on supporting and telling the world to engage with Taliban, yet not be seen as kind of backers of Taliban. You know, it's a difficult game. So was Imran Khan able to convey that in his speech? Was it an effective diplomatic gesture?
Okay, so let me put it like this. We have seen hyper diplomacy on the Pakistani side as far as the regional countries are concerned. So China, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, uh, you know, the prime minister has been going there. He's been talking to people. Other high level officials have been going there, talking to them. Russia, which is not contiguous but has genuine security and other interests in the region, has also been present in these talks. So uh, the idea really is, and if you look at the statement that has been put out by the Chinese foreign ministry, also by the Russian foreign ministry, also after the visit of the special representatives of Russia, China, Pakistan to Kabul, talking to the Taliban, it's very clear that there is a growing consensus among the countries of the region that while we tell the Taliban, we meaning not just Pakistan, I want to emphasize this point. It's about China, it's about Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, that there are certain norms that they have to respect, but simultaneously to also tell the rest of the world that they need to be patient about certain things to happen. Because there is not just the external pressure, there's also an internal debate within the Taliban movement with respect to what can or cannot be done. Now, you have to understand, and when I say you have to understand, I'm not talking about you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the external world, specifically the US and its Western allies. That here is an ideological movement which has moderates as well as hardliners. Now, the issue really is that if you want to cut them loose, who are you empowering? Not the moderates, clearly,
Correct.
but the hardliners. Now, if you want to empower the hardliners, you begin. So your strategy begins by defeating itself. I mean, the entire idea really is for the moderates to be able to tell the hardliners within the movement that by engaging with the external world, we are one.
Yeah.
We are getting this, that, or the other. If you adopt a strategy in terms of your sequencing, where you say, you have to first do X, Y, Z before we do this, then it's not going to work. Okay, let's forget Pakistan. I actually, Raza, to be very honest, I want to completely subtract Pakistan from this discussion. Let's look at what the Qatar Al-Thani said in his UNGA speech.
Right.
Sheikh Al-Thani's position was, look, if you cut them loose, and words to that effect, I mean, that's not exactly what he said, but I'm just summarizing. If you cut them loose, where do you go?
Yeah.
You go nowhere. Dialogue is the only option. But here I also want to add another thing. The unfortunate part of it is that the manner in which the US had to get out, the manner in which the evacuations happened, the visuals, they've had a domestic impact on the United States. So frankly, President Biden at this point in time, I hope that it's going to change in the medium term. But at this point in time, for him to actually do what is required to do is going to be domestically very difficult.
Right.
And so we have to wait for that moment. And by the way, let me also add another thing. I'm one of those people who believe that President Biden took the right but politically difficult decision to get out.
Correct.
Because leaving aside the differences between Trump and Biden, if you recall, when President Trump came, there was a policy review on Afghanistan, and that review actually went through 3 phases. And when he finally unveiled it, recall his words. He said that this is against my gut feeling, but my generals tell me that this can still be worked out. I'm sure you'll remember, kind of remember those words.
Yes.
Biden realized that if he did not stick to the timelines that he had figured out, the generals will once again try and, send him back to what he doesn't want to do. Having said that, Raza, domestic politics, I don't have to tell you, is a, can I use the B word?
Yes, go ahead. So yeah,
it is problematic. People say life's a bitch, so I think I can use the B word. Domestic politics is a bitch, frankly, and it's very difficult for Biden, having already made certain bold decisions, to also follow through on that. At some point, he'll have to do that. If he wants to have the kind of role post-withdrawal, if he wants to kind of have the leadership role, I would say, then he'll have to take those decisions. But right now, I do not think that he is in a position to do that. And
right.
and so we're gonna see the Russians and the Chinese, and I'm not talking about Pakistan, to kind of come in and fill that vacuum.
Right. And that leads me to, because we're talking about Biden, and so there are two things. One is that Biden administration is visibly keeping a distance from the civilian government in Pakistan. So it's been a subject of memes and jokes, etc. But on a serious note, there is a lack of adequate, meaningful engagement with Pakistan's prime minister and at the political level. And and we saw that Modi met Biden. Modi's meeting other American officials. He's gotten a more far warmer welcome than perhaps Imran Khan would have under these circumstances. I mean, US views and reactions always are very transactional, so we understand that at the same time. But how far is that a threat for Pakistan? I mean, because you write about these things. So do you think Pakistan should be, Foreign Office should be worried, Imran Khan should be worried, Pakistan Army should be worried?
Okay, so essentially there are two parts of this question. One is with reference to the US officials' interaction with Pakistan. And on that, I can tell you that, the US National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, has been in contact with the Pakistani National Security Advisor, Dr. Mohid Yusuf. And Dr. Mohid Yusuf is obviously on the civilian side. Similarly, the US Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, has been in contact with the Pakistani foreign minister. So the assertion that they are only in contact with the military side, I'm afraid is factually not right. Of course, Lloyd Austin has been talking to the army chief, but he's also been talking to the civilian principal. Now, the second part of the question with reference to
Modi, Biden, yeah.
So, Raza, that is structural. That is structural because India is part of Quad. And India and the United States now are in a strategic embrace. Not so much because what India can bring to the table, but because the inside the Beltway US policy-making community that has, in its own infinite wisdom, has decided that China needs to be put down. And in order to put down China, who do you find here as a counterweight to China? Right, India. Now, there are a number of problems with that proposition, a number of problems. And I can list some of them, and I will list some of them. Firstly, what we have witnessed of India's performance vis-a-vis China in Ladakh last year clearly raises a number of questions with reference to India's capabilities, military capabilities in relation to China. That's point number one. Secondly, the US interest primarily is in the high seas. India's interest is on land. And we have seen what happened to that. So the Indian Navy, notwithstanding its aspirations to be a blue water navy, is nowhere near the Chinese capability. That's one.
Yeah.
Secondly, with reference to what has happened with this AUKUS thing, which incidentally, Raza, I call focus. because the way it has screwed up US, France, and France-Australia relations, and also to some extent France-UK relations, is something that is fascinating as also very instructive.
Right.
Instructive from the point of view of structural realism. And here I need to have a big chuckle as a structural realist talking to you guys who constantly tell me, no, you need to broaden your view. And I've constantly been saying, look, at the end of the day, when it comes to the crunch, everything else falls by the wayside and structural realism emerges as the dominant IR theory.
Yes.
6 months, Raza, 6 months. The UK, Australia, the US. And France, by the way, I have to say this, that the French External Intelligence Agency, the DGSC, they need to be hauled over the coals because they had no idea what was going on. It's their damn job to have known what was going on. But anyway, they could. France was completely not only blindsided, but also shocked. But the point that I'm trying to make is that the real military alliance that has emerged is AUKUS, not Quad. So there are a number of issues here that one could discuss, but there's paucity of time, so I'll leave it at that. But the point really is that, and I don't say this as a Pakistani, frankly, believe me, India definitely needs to have a domestic policy rethink in terms of being part of the Quad, because from where I stand, I do not see much out there for India, especially when you juxtapose the Quad with AUKUS.
That's very interesting because the Quad is being celebrated as some kind of a new powerful, and there's within the US there are lots of critical voices that it's not been that effective, and people are already questioning its future or its future effectiveness. But I think we'll reserve that for a separate discussion. We are almost over our time. Ejaz, the final question or the final comment I want from you is about how do you see the situation in Afghanistan and Pakistan's challenges with respect to that unfolding in the next few weeks or months, at best. Because and what should our foreign okay, let me rephrase. What should our foreign office and PM and his team should be doing right now in the next few weeks?
Okay, so let me put it like this, Raza. Firstly, given the situation and the complexities, I'll be very honest, and I've been very critical of this government. But the fact is that as far as dealing with the issue is concerned, they have done pretty well. Unfortunately, there are a number of ministers, and unfortunately, occasionally also the prime minister comes up with statements that that they should not, which is a very charitable way of putting it. But institutionally, they've done a good job. The Sherpas have done a good job. So the article that I wrote for the Friday Times, in which I have actually looked at the positions of all the regional powers, China, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, and Pakistan's approach. Two countries, Tajikistan and Iran, were the more difficult ones, in the sense that they have their interests in terms of the communities within Afghanistan that they think that they are guardians of. Tajikistan, for instance, with reference to Tajiks, Iran, with reference to not just Tajiks, but also Hazaras and Farsivans. Some of the Farsivans are Shiites, others are not, but Iran has traditionally looked at these three sort of entities as people that that can rely on Iran, and where Iran would like to be in their corner. In addition to Iran's idea of expanding influence within Afghanistan and right up to Central Asia, just like they try to do, they've not just tried to do, but have successfully done in reference to the Greater Middle East. So, okay, I can see that you're sharing my article there. So the point really is that we have managed to convince both Tajikistan as well as Iran that there is a certain baseline consensus that we need to have, we meaning the countries of the region, in order to stabilize the situation in Afghanistan. Now, you'll recall that the Iranian foreign minister, as well as the Iranian foreign ministry spokesperson, had made statements after the Panjshir offensive, which it's good of them that they walked back on, because they were, without naming Pakistan, they were talking about foreign intervention and all that. And Tajikistan initially had concerns about the Panjshir offensive, but in the joint presser by Emomali Rahmon, the president, and with the Prime Minister of Pakistan, they seem to have sorted out that well. China, of course, has repeatedly said that they don't want to interfere in the internal affairs. They do want to see a political consensus among various stakeholders, and of course the fact that they do not want the Afghanistan soil to be used against any external state actor. That's also the position of Russia. That is Pakistan's position. That is Tajikistan's position, Uzbekistan's position, Iran's position, Turkmenistan. But before we wrap up, Turkmenistan is really an amazing sort of, I would say, outlier in this, because even before the fall of Kabul, Turkmen diplomats were in contact with Taliban. And the degree of panic in Turkmenistan is way low compared to all other regional actors. Turkmenistan has invested about $1.25 billion in terms of infrastructure development and energy pipelines and all that. They have also been, before the fall of Kabul, in contact with the Taliban reps in Mazar-e-Sharif and elsewhere. And frankly, they seem to be chilling out a lot. I mean, they've accepted the ground reality and they're saying, okay, we accept it, but there are certain things, you want to do business with us, we have been putting money in there, you want to do business with us, we are ready for that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so the bottom line really is that in many ways, Pakistan's regional consensus policy, Raza, is actually succeeding at the moment. I mean, I can't predict over the medium to long term, and because a lot of that also depends on how the Taliban, work things out at home, but including, the inclusive government and all that. But at the moment, I think Pakistan, institutionally speaking, Pakistan has done very well. And, the former diplomat, Indian diplomat, Mr. Bhadra Kumar, if you go and read his article, he has also talked about the Pakistani diplomacy and he's actually lauded it.
That's excellent overview, Ejaz. I mean, about the Central Asian states and the regional. I mean, there's no other solution. Let's put it this way, without a regional consensus. And I'm glad to know that you think Pakistan is making those advances. Let's hope that things unfold in a way which brings peace and stability. But I guess I'll have to stop here and pick your brains next week. And we'll follow up on some of the issues that were raised today, with China, Quad, India's role, and Central Asian states. So with that, thank you for your time, and thank you, viewers, for staying with us and your comments and questions. Hope Ejaz Haider has answered many of those, and please join us next week. Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Raza.
Okay.
Great being with you. Thank you.